IDLES are a band well known for being outspoken about mental health, addiction, and toxic masculinity. They've consistently been brutally honest on every release and continue to work endlessly on breaking down stigmas surrounding depression, anxiety, and addiction. IDLES formed in Bristol, England in 2010. The band is comprised of vocalist Joe Talbot, guitarists Mark Bowen and Lee Kiernan, bassist Adam Devonshire, and drummer John Beavis. The band released a handful of EPs before releasing their debut album Brutalism in 2017 to critical acclaim. By this point, IDLES were touring heavily while still working outside the band to support themselves. Following Brutalism, the band released their sophomore album, Joy as an Act of Resistance, in August 2018. IDLES described Joy as a reaction to trauma, both personally and politically. The album placed at number 5 in the UK album charts and was hailed as an instant classic by the NME. After the release of Joy, IDLES were nominated for Best Breakthrough Act of the 2019 Brit Awards and won the 2019 Kerrang Award for Best British Breakthrough Act. Joy was later shortlisted for the 2019 Hyundai Mercury Prize. Since the release of Joy, the band have toured internationally, performed an NPR Tiny Desk session, played two of their biggest concerts to date in Dublin's Ivy Gardens and London's Alexandria Palace respectively, and gave what is considered an iconic Glastonbury performance. The band is currently completing their third album, and frontman Joe Talbot has been touring in conversation in smaller venues giving intimate question and answer sessions with fans. Toxic masculinity is defined as a cultural concept of manliness that glorifies stoicism, strength, virility, and dominance, and that is socially maladaptive or harmful to mental health. The subject of toxic masculinity has been discussed more and more in recent times, with the American Psychological Association even publishing a list of guidelines for psychologists working with boys and men who are socialized to conform to traditional masculinity ideology. The guidelines, Christopher Liang discussed the guidelines in an interview saying,
when boys are not allowed to express their sadness, their hurts, when they're growing up, they're essentially taught that they shouldn't have pain. And what that does over time is it creates a condition where boys who are becoming men stuff their pain.
The song Samaritans describes the dangers of toxic masculinity. The opening lyrics, man up, sit down, chin up, pipe down, immediately portrays the messages associated with toxic masculinity and suppressing emotions.
I read The Descent of Man by Grayson Perry, and it allowed me to articulate what masculinity is and what it isn't. I don't want it to seem like I'm bashing men. It's a really important conversation to have. It's one of the most dangerous things is isolation, not talking about how you feel.
Samaritans later goes on to highlight how these traits can be passed from father to son, with the chorus roaring, "This is why you've never seen your father cry." IDLES also mentioned the pressures that men can put on themselves to live up to their father's legacy in the opening track for Joy, Colossus. IDLES aim to break down the stereotypes of macho aggression in punk and to encourage men in the scene to examine themselves and their behaviour. IDLES have acknowledged their privilege as men within the scene and want to use their privilege for good.
Certainly, I have a lot of privileges as a man, more than women, and I think it's important to appreciate those and to try and use those privileges for the benefits of everyone, which is what I'm trying to do.
IDLES are very open about their mental health and encouraging their followers to love themselves for who they are. Frontman Joe Talbot has been very open talking about addiction and his mental health. He shares his experiences in interviews and on stage, speaking bluntly about his struggles with alcohol and drugs, saying, quote, "I'm not a good drinker, it doesn't suit me, I'm just a prick, I get paranoid, jealous, angry and violent." The song, Never Fight a Man with a Perm, paints a picture of substances and violence in a small town bar setting, giving the audience an insight into Talbot's past.
I said I got a pawn chance for smokes and kicking douches in the mouth. Sadly for you, my last cigarette's gone up.
He discusses his personal life as a way to better explain the music he makes and to remove stigmas around mental health. Talbot's mother, who features on the cover of Brutalism, died during the production of the album. He was her primary carer and speaks openly about their relationship and her death. He told the British newspaper The Guardian that, "It allowed me to become me, I'd been so terrified of letting her down, I'd been terrified of being a shit son. I don't want to fuck this up, so I just avoid it all and get pissed. He describes his time as her carer, saying, quote, I was a horrible beast. My functionality tricked me into thinking I was okay. But just functioning is dangerous because you still have this impotent rage that goes silent for however long. But it's going to come out. I still have it in me, but it's a pragmatic rage, and it's an important part of who I am, and I make sure it comes out in the art and not in the relationships. Guitarist Lee Kiernan has also been open about his past alcohol and drug addictions and has spoken about living with addiction, saying, It's not your fault. You don't understand it because it's all you care about and all your mind wants is that escape. You want to just lose yourself and run away, and it's not fair to the people around you, but you don't necessarily know what you're doing. It's really tough for the people on the outside to understand, and the only reason I say this is because it's not for other people to understand. It's so that people who are in it understand. Talbot and Kiernan have been very honest about their recovery and counselling, and this openness results in the ongoing removal of stigma surrounding mental health and addiction. IDLES have also resulted in the creation of the online community AF Gang, an online IDLES fan group where followers of the band share their experiences and provide support for each other. The AF Gang was formed in 2017 by photographer Lindsay Melbourne, who explained, quote, I kept meeting the same people at the shows, and within minutes people were opening up to each other and sharing their lives, mental health battles, personal stories, and talking about how IDLES were helping. Since AF Gang's creation in 2017, the group has become almost a family with over 20,000 members internationally, including drummer John Beefus's mother, Annie.
It's such a supportive community. Nobody is going to diss them, is that the expression? Yeah, you know, they're going to be there for them.
Personally, I admire IDLES massively. They put a voice to some of the inherent anger that young men feel and tackle toxic masculinity while continuing to push for and provide a platform for equality at shows.
There's a circle forming. The radius is only men. If there are no women in the circle, it is not a circle, but a phallus.
If you or someone else you know is struggling with their mental health, please seek out help and know there is always a place for you in the IDLES community. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future videos.